Do you have any proof or evidence that I am actually having an affair with another person and that this baby is not ours? My husband, Theo, looked as if he had won the fight when I asked him that question.
Yeah, of course I do. In fact, I did a DNA analysis already without telling you.
And saying that, my husband took out some documents from his bag. Apparently, the documents were the results of the DNA analysis.
Here, read this part here.
My name is Margaret, and I am 32 years old office worker. I have been married to my husband, Theo, for 3 years now. I first met my husband from the university's tennis club. I was in a relationship with my husband, who was a few years older than me, but when he graduated and got a job and was transferred to another area, we gradually fell apart and ended up breaking up once. Several years later, after I graduated and began working at the office where I work now, I reunited with my husband once again when the tennis club had a reunion for the first time in a long time. Since we had both grown up and our ways of thinking had changed, once we met again, it was a fresh feeling, and we hit it off and began going out again. Then, my husband proposed to me, and we got married. Since then, although both of us worked and have busy working schedules, we have been making it work. Of course, we had our occasional fights, but since we had known each other for so long and we knew each other so well that it was easy for the both of us to apologize to each other after the fights. Then, I finally became pregnant. We were having difficulties to have a child, and we were getting impatient. But in the end, I am really glad that we were able to have a child. My husband loved kids, so he was very happy when he found out that I was pregnant. I thought I was lucky to have a baby with someone who was also so happy to have a baby as well. But after I became pregnant, things started to go a little differently between us. My husband was busy with work even while I was pregnant, and he came home quite late frequently. At first, I thought that it wasn't his fault and we had no choice because it was his job. It's not like my husband did want to work overtime either. So, he would definitely be annoyed if I complained about it. But as my stomach grew little by little, I got a little worried about Theo. And my anxiety also grew, which is why I couldn't really hold back and talked to Theo about it once. Hey, can't you come home a little earlier?
What?
I know that work is important to you, but I get a little lonely when I am always alone. Hearing these words, my husband looked a little annoyed.
Yeah, but even if you say that, you know that I'm working, right? And it's not like the baby is going to be born anytime soon, right?
Well, that's true, but it was true what Theo had said, and I am still working too. But soon, I will be on maternity leave. And when that happens, I will be all alone in the house all the time. When I think that if my husband continues to come home very late at night and continues what he's doing right now, it will make me feel anxious. So that's why I at least wanted to discuss about it to him. When I kept being quiet with an anxious look on my face, my husband noticed it, and he made an annoyed face again.
All right, I'll ask my mom to come over during the day. Will that be okay for you?
The way he said it was a little cold, but I appreciated the fact that my husband would ask my mother-in-law, Laura, to keep me company. My parents live in a different rural area and they are pretty far away from us, so it was tough for me and my parents to visit each other. Instead, Laura lives very close by with only a 10-minute walk from our house. So, Laura would come visit us frequently in order to support me. She helped me a lot when I was having a hard time with morning sickness, and I really appreciated it. But my husband, perhaps getting reassured by the fact that his mother frequently visited and took care of me, began working overtime and went to dinners with his colleagues to go out drinking more frequently. Recently, even working during Theo's days off has become a normal thing for him. Laura would come often, but it's not like she can visit every day. I was a little angry at Theo, wondering what he was thinking by prioritizing his work instead of being with me. I understand that he is trying his best to work really hard and earn enough for our baby, but I still wish he would consider his priorities a little more. And yesterday was actually my due date, but my husband probably forgot about that and just stayed the same. I got a little mad and deliberately said this in a way that he could hear me. "Oh, I wonder if our baby will be born yet. My due date was yesterday." Then, my husband, perhaps because he was too busy getting ready for work in the morning, ended the conversation and went to work by saying,
"Well, you're not in labor yet, so not yet, I guess."
Why couldn't he understand that I was being nervous and anxious? I simply wanted him to just understand how I felt. And besides, I have always told my husband about how I felt when I was having a hard time. So it's not like I have always been holding back or ignoring my own feelings. I have been telling him about my anxieties all this time. But Theo seemed to think that there was nothing wrong with it, or that there were many pregnant women in the world and that I should just gather information on the internet or something and stop being nervous or anxious about it. Probably, my husband did not really understand that we, pregnant women, risk our own lives to have babies. I mean, I still remember how Theo was so excited when he found out that I was pregnant. Why did he gradually become colder and colder towards me? That part was confusing me a lot. After seeing my husband off to work, and as I gave out a huge sigh, I suddenly started to feel pains in my stomach and had contractions. I called the hospital and was told that the timing between each contractions were still long and that I would have to wait and see. I prepared my luggage for the hospital and laid down on the couch. In the meantime, I called Laura and Theo just in case. Laura came right away, but my husband just said,
"All right,"
and that was it. I was so angry at him, but I decided not to worry about it and concentrate on myself. And gradually, the timings between each contractions became shorter and shorter, so Laura drove me to the hospital. And then I got hospitalized. Laura understood my anxiety and how nervous I was, so she stayed with me as much as possible. The pain hurted so much that I thought I was going to faint anytime soon, but I was able to endure it because Laura kept on calling out to me. Laura was there for me throughout the day and took care of me, so by the afternoon, she looked a little bit exhausted. So I asked Laura to go home for the night. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I am. Actually, I am really grateful to you for staying with me all day today." Looking at the time, Theo probably would have finished work and he would be here soon. "Is that so? Okay then, I guess I'll head home for today. Good luck, Margaret. Thank you very much for all your help." But no matter how long I waited, my husband never showed up at the hospital room. What on earth is he doing? I sent a text message, but he didn't even read my message. The nurse even asked awkwardly, "Is your husband on a business trip or..." How is it possible that at such an important time like this that I couldn't even get in touch with him? Then, the next morning, I received a reply from Theo.
"How's it going? Is our baby born?"
Huh? What the hell is he talking about? First of all, he should have come to see me in the hospital yesterday. Even though I managed to suppress my feelings, I couldn't really hide how irritated I was. I replied back angrily saying, "Not yet. Hurry up and come to the hospital first," and turned off my phone. Just seeing my husband's response was already making me angry. Then, the pain got so bad right away that I totally forgot how Theo had irritated me. Apparently, my husband arrived an hour after I replied back to him and walked into the delivery room while I was frantically trying to give birth to our baby. I think I caught a glimpse of my husband, but he no longer mattered too much to me, and I just focused on pushing out our baby. My husband just stood there in the room and just watched me pushing for our baby. Halfway through the delivery, the nurse asked my husband to say something to me to help ease the pain, but he just mumbled, and to me, that was just distracting me from pushing. I was trying to focus, but he wasn't helping at all. My husband just being there annoyed the hell out of me. Besides, I saw my husband yawn through the whole thing while I was sweating and trying my best to push. I really couldn't believe him. I knew I was out of my patience, so I gasped for breath, pointed to the entrance, and said, "Get out!" to my husband. I was so focused on the delivery that I said it in a weak voice, but my husband heard me, and he widened his eyes and left the delivery room. Everything about this really sucks. Why did I marry such a man like him anyways? After that, with my husband gone, I was able to concentrate, and I was able to safely give birth to our baby finally. Our baby was a healthy boy. I finally finished giving birth and almost blacked out, but I was relieved to see my son crying with energy. He is my beautiful son. He was born at last. My sweet, sweet son. The nurse called my husband, who was outside the delivery room, in and handed our son to him. My husband looked scared, but he held him in his arms. I'll just put his earlier attitude aside for the moment and appreciate the fact that my husband had finally become a father. As I watched my husband hold our sweet son in his arms, he says something in which I couldn't believe my ears.
Huh, he doesn't look like me at all. Whose son is this?
With that, my husband gave our son back to the nurse and left. Both the nurse and I were completely speechless. I was too exhausted right after the birth that my feelings of anger had disappeared. It was only after I had a good night's sleep and had regained some strength and consciousness that my anger at my husband began to gradually heat up. My in-laws, Jack and Laura, visited the hospital many times to see our son and were concerned about my health, but my husband never came to see me at all. According to Jack and Laura, Theo did come to see our son, though. Both Jack and Laura also asked me, "Did you guys have a fight? Theo won't say anything, you know," and sounded worried. I thought I should be honest about this, so I told both of them what had happened in the delivery room. Hearing that story, both Jack and Laura got furious and took my side. And that day, I was discharged from the hospital, so I took my son home with Jack and Laura. When we arrived home, Theo was already at home relaxing around in the living room.
Oh, you're finally home.
For some reason, my husband was grinning. "Hey, Theo, I heard what happened in the delivery room from Margaret."
What are you doing when Margaret's having a difficult time?
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Then you probably already heard from Margaret what I pointed about our son not looking like me, right?
Yes, we did hear that. But Margaret says that she never cheated on you at all, so what you're saying is impossible.
Mom, are you just going to accept what that woman says without questioning her?
How dare he says that woman? Well, do you have any proof? Do you have any proof or evidence that I am actually having an affair with another person and that this baby is not ours? My husband Theo looked as if he had won the fight when I asked him that question.
Yeah, of course I do. In fact, I did a DNA analysis already without telling you.
In saying that, my husband took out some documents from his bag. Apparently, the documents were the results of the DNA analysis.
Here, read this part here.
Then, my husband pointed to a certain part of the document. Well then, let's see. It says here that we strongly assume that you are the biological father.
Yeah, so that means he's not my baby, right?
When Theo said that, Jack, Laura, and I were just speechless. How did you even conclude to that?
Because, assume only means it's a guess, and it's not officially confirmed, right? So, if that's the case, it means there's a possibility that I'm not his father.
By this point, I was just so fed up of his stupidity that I wasn't angry at him like I was before. What's written here means that you are his father.
What?
If you aren't the father, it would clearly state that you are not related by blood and that you're not the biological father on here.
But the word assume is...
Of course they'd write it like that. To find out if you are the father 100%, they would have to analyze the DNA of the entire human race and prove that you have more similar genes to this child than the others.
So, does that mean that he's actually my baby?
That's what I've been saying this whole time.
No way.
My husband looked as if he had done something wrong and said this awkwardly.
I'm sorry. I guess I was just too quick to judge. Ha ha ha.
Both Jack and Laura were glaring at Theo. I mean, did someone tell you something to think like that our baby was not yours? Well, I guess it was more convenient for you that I was having an affair, right?
Huh?
My husband looked nervous as I said that. Margaret, what do you mean by that? I'm sorry, there is actually something which I haven't told you and Jack yet. Actually, just 3 days ago, my sister took a certain photo of Theo and she sent it to me. I said that and showed the photo to Jack, Laura, and Theo. It was a photo of my husband walking down the street arm in arm with another woman.
What? Why?
Well, it looks like because you were having an affair with another woman, you thought I was having an affair too, just because our son's face doesn't look like yours, right? Well, you know what they say. The more that person has an affair, the more suspicious that person gets of their own partners. And you thought that if I was having an affair, you could divorce me and be with your mistress while you get alimony from me, didn't you? You know, a newborn baby wouldn't resemble the parents in the first place, because they were just born, of course. It's only obvious that as they grow up bit by bit, their faces start to resemble to their parents. My husband was in a complete shock, but he has no right to be like that because he knew what he was doing, so he must have known the consequences. I said to him once and for all, let's get a divorce. Oh, and I'll obviously get alimony and child support from you.
No way. Can't you rethink about the divorce?
When my husband said this, Jack began to slap him.
You're such an idiot. After how you've been treating Margaret like that, now you don't want a divorce, huh? Stop being selfish.
That's right. You did something that can't be undone for sure. You deserve this, Theo. Even Jack and Laura were both on my side, and my husband seemed to realize that there was no way he could win anymore. After that, our divorce was finalized without any problems. I filed for alimony and child support from my ex-husband, and also alimony from his mistress. It seems that Theo's mistress was his colleague from work, and both of them were demoted and transferred to different locations, and they both had their salary reduced. Theo is now living poorly in a place where he doesn't know anybody and paying me alimony and for child support. He deserves what he got. Oh, and Jack and Laura had cut ties with Theo. On the other hand, I am now a single mother, but I have no financial problems because I was allowed to take enough maternity leave at my company. Since returning back to work, I have been working hard and earning enough money for my son. I will continue to take care of my son, who is my treasure, and do my best to raise him properly. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.